Gears take actually forever to max out. So I've done some calculations and figured out how you can actually spend your resources the best, so that way you can get the gears in the least amount of time. It's still going to be a really long time, but it'll be the least amount of time, hopefully. So obviously the first thing you need to do is upgrade at least one brawler to power level 10, right? Because if you didn't do this when the update dropped, you learned the hard way, you can't unlock scrap from boxes unless you have at least one power level 10 brawler. So if you have like star point rewards from the Brawl Pass or something, or if you don't have those star point rewards, then just wait until you do, because you really want to hold off on opening any boxes, assuming you're already maxed out other than that with like power level 9 on every single brawler. You want to wait until you have those specific PowerPoint rewards that let you assign it to a particular brawler, so that way you can choose a single brawler and upgrade them to power level 10. Because if you don't do that, you're going to need to open thousands and thousands of boxes to get a brawler to power level 10, and pretty much all your brawlers are going to get there at basically the same time, since you get power points for all your brawlers pretty evenly from brawl boxes. So you got to make sure you're getting the rewards that let you focus the star points particularly on one brawler, and then you got to do that before you start opening your boxes. I personally chose Ems because I really like playing her, and I was planning on pushing her this season anyway, so I think she's a good first one to max out until I can get more rewards from club leagues and things like that. Obviously, you can choose whatever brawler you want to max out with gears, but it's so important to get that first brawler. So I opened several hundred boxes when this update dropped, and I actually calculated the average drops for gold, power points, and the new material, gear scrap, that came from each of the boxes. That way I could get a good estimate of how much you're actually going to get over time when you open more and more boxes that you get. And so what I found on average was that there was 22.79 gold per box, 16.17 power points per box, and 8.75 average scrap per box. Why did I make those numbers to 2 decimal places? It really doesn't matter. I guess it just makes it sound fancier. I don't know. But if you're looking to get gears the fast, you have to make sure you also have the gold and the star to power level 10 and power level 11 if you want to eventually get the gears and max them out. So is it more worth it to just invest in gear scrap, or is it more worth it to invest in the gold and power points because you need those first? That's where these numbers can help us. So assuming you already have all brawlers power level 9 before this update came out, and in order to fully max out all of your brawlers to power level 11, you need over 121,000 power points and over 243,000 gold. That's a lot. That's a very large amount. And it will take a while, but it will get easier. I'll explain that more later in the video. And then if you want to get the gears on top of that, you're going to need over 176,000 scrap in total to max out all 5 gears on all 52 brawlers. And that's not even assuming that they're going to add any more brawlers to the game, which they will. But if you just want only 2 gears per brawler, which is reasonable since you don't ever get to use more than 2 at the same time, you only need 70,000 scrap. So I'm going to base it off of that number, since I think it's smarter to invest your resources based on the 2 gears per brawler. And so since we know how much of each resource you need and how much resource you get from each box, we know how many boxes you're going to need to open in order to get that required level of gold, star points, and the scrap. So just to get the amount of gold you need to upgrade your brawlers, you need 10,667 boxes to open all of them. All 10,000 of them. Power points, it comes in at a cool 7,493 boxes, and then for the scrap required to make 2 gears for each brawler, you need 8,082 boxes. Once again, these are based on the average drop rates per box that I counted, so they might be slightly off, but they should be pretty close. And so, since for gold you need over 10,000 boxes, that means gold's going to be the main bottleneck resource in whether or not you can actually max out your brawlers. So you're going to get enough scrap to get 2 gears on all of your brawlers before you even have enough gold to upgrade them all to power level 11. At least that's just assuming you're only opening boxes. But that's not quite the reality, because on the Brawl Pass, some of the rewards just straight up give you coins. Some also just straight up give you power points, but none of them give you scrap. So those 8,000 boxes that you have to open for all the scrap, you really just have to only open them through boxes or buy scrap through the club league, which I'll probably talk about in a different video, how to best spend your club coins, but you don't get that scrap on the Brawl Pass. And so these high numbers for boxes that you need to open to get the required gold and star points, it's actually going to be pretty significantly less, because you're going to be getting so much gold and so many star points from the Brawl Pass. Now, you do need twice the amount of gold to get all your brawlers up to max than you do power points, approximately, but on the Brawl Pass, you actually get a lot more than half the amount of gold in power points, meaning like the ratio of gold to power points is significantly different from how many you actually need to upgrade your brawlers. And so you're going to be getting more power points comparatively to your gold. And so you're going to be catching up to that power point requirement a lot faster, meaning that makes gold even more of a bottleneck resource. And that means that's going to be the thing that you want to prioritize getting if you want to max out your brawlers brawlers and get the gears. Now, the exception to this rule would be if you had a ton of gold saves up already, which if you were maxed at power level 9 with all your brawlers might be the case. Some people have had 50,000, over 100,000 gold even saved up from all these boxes that they've opened and gotten nothing out of since there's been no new content. So for those people, the amount of boxes they need to get the required gold is cut dramatically. And then the power points and the scrap become the limiting resources that you need to focus on getting. More so the scrap than the power points because one, you have to open up more boxes to get the required scrap, but also you don't get scrap from the Brawl Pass, which you do with the power points. So it might be a good idea to prioritize getting scrap in the Club League shop. But if you do just get all scrap, then you won't be getting that PowerPoint reward that lets you target the PowerPoints on a specific brawler, and that lets you easily get a couple brawlers that you want to power 10 or power 11 pretty quickly. And now that kind of makes the game less fun because you won't have gears for a really long time. If you only open the PowerPoints through the boxes, you're going to be slowly getting PowerPoints on all of your brawlers, and then they'll all hit power 10 at about the same time. A couple might hit it earlier since you do have those specific PowerPoint rewards from the Brawl Pass, but generally speaking, most of your brawlers are going to upgrade at about the same rate, and so you won't be able to get a couple brawlers to power 10 or 11 quickly. It's going to take a shorter time overall, but it's going to be longer time before you get those first couple brawlers to be able to have gears on them. And so I personally wouldn't find that fun, so I'm probably going to prioritize the PowerPoints a bit earlier and then focus on just getting the scrap. But if you really want to focus in on progression and you have all this gold saved up, right, then you want to focus on getting the PowerPoints because that's going to be the limiting resource preventing you from getting these gears as quickly as possible. But if you don't have a ton of gold saved up, gold is definitely going to be the limiting resource, and you want to focus on saving up as much gold as possible, which means don't buy the PowerPoint offers in the shop because you're going to need the gold more than you need the PowerPoints. Now, when you do get the gears, I think the damage and the shield gears are probably one of your best bets, since if you're only choosing 2 gears for each brawler, you probably want to pick the 2 best gears so you don't have to go back and get a third if you realize that one of the other ones is better. I think across the board, damage and shield are always going to provide a ton of value. I think the speed gear is also pretty useful in a lot of different maps, and that's not so much brawler dependent, it's more map dependent. There are still plenty of maps where you can get value off of it. Resistance is a bit weird because it's kind of only for Power League sweats, since you have to use it in response to what the opponents are playing. So unless there's some really strong stunning or slowing brawlers in the meta, I don't think you should ever really get the resistance gear until you're really close to being fully maxed out. And then the health gear works really well on low health brawlers, especially throwers, because they're going to be standing still behind walls a lot of the time. And also assassins that have to back up a lot to recharge and can just sort of Mortis or Buzz, they're also going to get some pretty good value out of the health gear. So once you do get all this scrap saved up, I think it's a good idea to invest in those gears respectively. Hey, that's it. See you in 25 years when you're finally maxed out.